Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome back to the Marvelous Podcast. To the Marvelous Podcast live for all you people who are tuning in on the YouTubes.
Is it live, though?
It is. It's live in the hearts of the people who watch it, Ben.
Wow, that is deep.
Isn't that just beautiful? Isn't that a beautiful thing?
That was very beautiful.
So thank you all for tuning in for the first of, maybe mini videos, or maybe, this is going to suck and we're never going to do this again. But...
Either way,
you to let us know.
Either way, we tried something new, and that's what matters in life is trying something new. And if you suck at it, well, I mean, not everyone is good at everything, including us. Surprisingly enough,
not everyone's built to be great at everything.
Yeah, Keagan did match me today.
I did. I think you matched me, sir.
What time did you put that outfit on this morning?
About 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I wasn't even up by then.
Right. That's right. That's vindication. Wait, Ben, are you saying you copied me?
Wait, are you human?
Or are you some kind of a thing?
We're going to find out in today's episode of the Marvelous Podcast.
We're going to be talking about The Thing. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for spooky season.
It is October. It is our time of year.
Our time.
And we are so excited to bring these movies to you. We're going to bring what, 4 or 5?
It'll be 4.
We're going to bring 4.
I guess we should probably take this opportunity to let you all know what we're going to be doing.
It's true.
So, welcome to Spooky Season, a Marvelous Podcast special, where we are going to be doing one horror movie for every month. Is that right? Or, I'm sorry. Wait, we're going to be doing one horror movie for every week.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Keagan picked out 2. I picked out 2. Mm-hmm. We're not going to tell you what those are.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to hit him with a surprise.
Right. Okay.
We could give him a little morsel.
A little morsel, a little taste.
Okay, a little morsel. There's a new movie coming out called
Dune.
That is also coming out.
You should go see it.
But more importantly, Halloween Kills is coming out in 2 weeks.
And I've never seen any of the Halloween movies.
I know. So maybe we'll go through them.
Oh, maybe so. But for today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to cover my pick, the first of my 2. And it is John Carpenter's The Thing. I freaking love this movie. So you watched this movie with me for the first time last year.
Yeah.
Because I showed this, and it was around October, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
That or it was at the very beginning of the year. I don't remember.
I
feel like it was cold outside.
This is a good movie to watch when it's cold outside.
This is a movie for fall. But honestly, I think this is more of a January movie. January to February.
I can see that. It's any time where you can like snuggle up and like have blankets on you. It's the best time to watch this movie.
Or maybe your significant other.
Oh my goodness.
And if you have one or don't have one. That's okay.
You know what? You don't need one.
There's hope for you, Jackson.
Hey, that's right, Jackson. If you're listening to this, you're better than Veronica. All right? Dude. Just because she broke your heart and tore you into a million pieces doesn't mean that you're nothing.
Amen.
Jackson. I'm sorry.
I've never heard anything better in my life.
Absolutely.
That encouragement for Jackson absolutely blew my mind. But we're getting off topic here.
All right, Jackson, you strap in. We're going to come back to you later.
We will.
So I have a very specific set top 10 list of movies for myself. I definitely know what my favorite movies are. This is one movie that consistently goes off and on slot 10 for me. I love this movie. This is definitely, it's one of my favorite horror movies. This one or my second pick, or might be my favorite horror movie, but I don't know.
Okay.
This movie's just so freaking rock solid. But I could talk about this movie forever. So I'm not going to. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk. What do you think about this movie? A person who hasn't seen it as many times.
So the first time I watched this movie, I thought, wow, this movie is absolutely light years beyond its time.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Ben, I'm so glad you said that.
You're going to hate me then what I'm about to say next.
Oh. All right. Wow.
Well, I guess maybe not hate me. Anyways, the second time I watched this movie, which was this week, I realized something. The story in this movie and the way that it is told, is so simplistic that it'll blow your mind.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is this movie is not per se light years ahead of its time because of cinematography, excuse me, or because the story is so mind-blowing and you're like, what the frick? Even though it can be. And the acting isn't, wow, that should be an Academy Award winner or Oscar winner. Yeah, seriously. It's not all of that. However, this movie takes place around 12 individuals, 12 or 13?
Yeah, yes.
12 or 13 individuals. And slowly it is revealed to them that there is something, yeah, that's right, the thing.
Oh.
Basically inhabiting their compound after this Norwegian helicopter starts shooting at a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog, turns out it wasn't a dog. Or was it?
It was a dog at one point.
Are you sure?
Because I would assume so. You know what? There actually is an answer to that question.
Okay.
I just haven't seen it. So there was a sequel movie to The Thing.
That's a prequel, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it came out in 2011. I've never seen it. I've heard it's all right, but it's about that crew that originally unearthed The Thing, and it's about like how their camp was torn to pieces and all that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to watch that sometime.
We should watch it at some point. I would like to.
Yeah. But what I like about this movie is that the viewer of this movie is basically the same character as everyone else in that movie. And what I mean by that is they're figuring out everything as the character you are watching is figuring it out.
Definitely.
And I think that's really, really good storytelling. And you don't have to worry about massive cinematography or something that's mind-blowing because this entire movie is basically shot in one place.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful if you can pull it off because it saves money. You can spend more time on acting or the script instead of being like, oh, we need a big explosion or we need to go to this place and shoot. No, I'm pretty sure this entire movie was shot in one place, which is really, really cool. And so I think, no, this movie wasn't light years beyond its time with cinematography and when it came out. However, because of how simplistic this story is, I think that it is light years beyond what stories were being told at the time because it went back to a simpler story.
100%. And I'll say this as well. It might not be light years ahead of its time in terms of storytelling or cinematography, but I will tell you what it is light years ahead of its time in, and that's freaking special effects. Like, would you really stop and consider this movie? And for those of you who haven't seen it, basically the plot of this movie is a dog comes into this compound of 12 scientists, of 12 men, and it is revealed that it's some kind of an alien, or there's some kind of an alien within it. It is then revealed that this alien has the ability to copy perfectly whatever it possesses. It's like a virus.
Yeah.
And once it gets into someone's system, it can possess it and copy it. And so whenever the virus is kind of revealed, or they figure out, who the thing is, who this alien is copying, it morphs and molds into these just horrific visions of human anatomy, just morphed and molded in heads with freaking spider legs coming out of them, freaking goo dripping from their necks, and
two heads that are
my gosh, the scene where I love this scene because it consistently scares the crap out of me when when Doc is trying to revive the guy and he's using the defibrillator and he goes in for the second time and his stomach just opens and grabs his arm and then his head starts coming off and it's just green, just goo all over it's disgusting, but it's so effective. And the fact that, and not to keep harping on a movie that we haven't seen, but one of the issues people have with the 2011 thing is that a lot of the more scary moments, the transformations, all of that is CGI. Whereas in this movie, all of it, every part of this movie is practical.
Even the spaceship.
They
got that.
They were up in the sky. They were rotating around the earth 200,000 years before it even, that's foresight.
This movie is light years beyond.
It is light years beyond. It's super duper side note. I'm talking incredibly off topic. Are you aware of the director Robert Rodriguez?
No.
So he directed the Spy Kids movies.
Okay.
And among other things, but Spy Kids obviously is the most important piece he's ever worked on. He has a movie called 100 Years.
Okay.
It is made, and it is in a time capsule that will not be open until the year 2118.
But I won't be alive by then.
Exactly. It is a movie that was made, and it is to be opened up and played in cinemas 100 years after it was.
Do you think it will?
I have no idea. I want to see it. I want to see it now.
I think the world will be destroyed by that time.
So what I would love is I want to, on my deathbed, as my wife is clutching my gray grizzled hand, be like, I have one last dying wish. Get me Rodriguez, and I'm gonna watch that movie.
I'm so off topic.
What are we talking about? The Thing.
Talking about The Thing.
Yes.
The special effects are real, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned in, I want to say it was Batman Returns, is that for me, special effects scare me way more than CGI because I know that what they're doing is real. Even though it may be makeup or skin suits, whatever, that stuff is real, which means that somebody could break into my home and put that in my room while I'm sleeping, and I would be terrified. That's kind of why I'm
That's where
scared.
the fear of the movie comes in. It's like, someone could put that in my bedroom. Imagine that scene from The Godfather where he finds the horse head in his bed. It's just the model of The Thing. Just in your covers.
Oh, dude, I would be terrified. However, this movie's pace and the way that the music comes in after every reveal, I think is very well done.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel super fast paced, oh my gosh, and you can't catch your breath. But at the same time, it is kind of at a slow pace, but the way things are being revealed, there's suspense in between the reveals that kind of make you catch your breath every once in a while, so that when you do get to that reveal, you're like,
yes.
And then you get scared for a moment, and then you get to rest for a hot second, and then you get back into it.
Yeah. Yeah. This movie does tension better than I think any movie I've ever seen. And this movie came out in 1986?
82, I think.
82?
Yeah.
I've never seen a movie that does tension as well and as organically as this movie, because each of these characters start to get picked off one by one, but not in ways of okay, clearly he's going to be the guy that goes, all right, he's next. Even watching this movie now, this is my third or my fourth time watching this movie, I forget who the Thing is. It's they did such a great job, not casting bad actors, but casting everymen who, anybody could be the Thing, and everybody is acting suspicious of one another. And so you as an audience member are suspicious of everybody all the time. And you've seen what horror this Thing can create. And so you're just on the edge of your seat waiting for something to happen. I think the blood test scene is a great example of that, because he's going through and he's testing each of the people and he's heating up this coil. McCready, Kurt Russell's character, has drawn blood from all the members of the crew, and he's burning the blood because they think that whoever the thing is, the blood will have a reaction. And I love it because they're talking, and the way the scene is set up is that they're burning each of the members' blood. And slowly, one by one, they're like weaning out who's real and who isn't. And then it gets to the sheriff. I forget his name. And they're like talking to him, and they're like, "You've been awful suspicious." And he's like, "Don't worry, we'll do you last." Thinking, as an audience member, now you're like, oh, we got him. Like, it's that guy. But as he's saying that, all the attention is on Kurt Russell and the sheriff. And he's burning a blood, and the audience isn't paying attention, but the blood that he burns is from the thing. And so there's this little creature that like shoots out of the blood. And it's so freaking scary because it's an effective jump scare. Because it doesn't gear up, and it's not like trying to trick you. It tricks you in a way that you didn't even know you were about to be tricked, which is the way to do a jump scare.
What I like about this movie is that never once halfway through the movie is a certain character like, "I need to go take a hot shower," and then they step into the shower. If you think about that, in most like horror movies, there's a scene similar to that where some character is about to get picked off, and they're like, "I'm gonna go take a shower."
Let's split up.
It's in Alien Covenant. It's in like
it is,
so many movies.
A little tail creeps up. Ugh.
Yeah, and so in that time, because no one would take a shower if this thing was going around.
At a time like this,
and that's what I like about this movie is it is not realistic.
Yeah,
but it's realistic to the way the characters react, in my opinion. And I really, really appreciate that about this movie. I appreciate the weaning off of, or the killing off of the characters.
Yeah.
It's not, it's unbiased, I guess, is the best way to put it.
It really is.
It never sets up a character at the very beginning, except for the main character, obviously, where they're just like, "Hey, we really want you to like this character, like this character, like this character, so that we can kill them off and it'll be a little bit better." That's never really done.
Yeah.
Like, everybody, as you were saying, is kind of that everyday man. Like, anybody could be this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the only person you are really rooting for in this movie is Kurt Russell.
Exactly. But I love it because at this point, to my knowledge, Kurt Russell was a child actor. So I guess Kurt Russell
had been around. Kurt Russell still has been around forever.
Kurt Russell's an American
treasure.
Does
not die, and he has a glorious beard.
I love him. And Keith David has become pretty successful. The guy who plays Childs. But I don't know. I would have liked to have gone and watched this movie when it first came out. Because I don't know if I would have thought like, okay, clearly Kurt Russell is going to make it out of this. Because even halfway through the movie, McCready disappears, and the movie makes sure you know that like this thing can break through clothes, and so it like tears up their clothes. And so when they're out in the snow, they find McCready's ripped jacket. And so the reason why I can watch that and be like, "Oh no, they're making a mistake," is because I've seen it before. But if you've never seen this movie before, with the information that you had been given previous to this, there's no reason for you to think that McCready isn't a thing now. And it's so well made because it truly, like, yes, there's a big name actor in this, 2 big name actors, but you don't like trust them either. Even at the end of the movie where it's down to just the 2 big name actors, you don't know if either of them are the things because you don't see McCready come out after the thing blows up. Like, there's a bit of time where you don't see McCready, and you don't know if like blood got in him or if that thing copied McCready at the last second and the explosion got him. And then you don't freaking know where Childs has been for the last 20 minutes. Like,
and we can talk about that in just a moment too.
There's some fun theories around that. I would love
to. Another thing I appreciate about this movie is you never see the true form of the thing. And I think that is something that sets this movie apart from a lot of other movies, is that in Alien you have this creature that's elusive the entire movie, and then you just see that full reveal. You know what the alien is. Or in like most horror movies, if you do like It, I mean, you know what that thing is, even though it has like a true form. That's kind of, you still see the true form every once in a while.
Yeah, I get you.
In The Thing, you never see the actual form of it because it takes the form of like a spider, of a dog, of a human. There's like weird mangled two faces with their mouths are attached. And
that model is freaking insane.
It's terrifying.
It's so scary.
I can't wait to show this to my kid at 13 years old.
Be like, check this out.
You're about to have nightmares for weeks.
You're about to crap your pants, little boy.
But that's something that is truly awesome about this movie, is that you never know what it is.
Yeah.
You never know what it truly is. And that's, I think, what brings a little bit of mystery to it.
Yeah. And I think that's that's such good insight. I had never thought about it like that before, because since you never see what the true form of the thing is,
you're scared of everything.
You're scared of because you have no idea what it could be. Let's talk, before we move on, because I think all the characters are kind of everymen. What do you think about Blair in this movie? Because I think Blair is the most interesting character in this movie.
He's like the scientist one, right?
He's the guy at the very start of the movie with the glasses.
Yeah, and the revolver.
Yes, he's the one who kind of figures out what the thing is.
Yeah. He is the most intriguing part of this movie, because whenever you see Kurt Russell, he's out in the snow and he's burying the body, and you just see this little man run from a helicopter inside, and Kurt Russell goes over there, and it turns out the whole entire helicopter, like the console of it, has been destroyed, along with the tractor out there. And so in your mind, you're like, oh no, it's him. Like, he's wanting to keep everyone there so he can kill him.
Yeah.
And then you find out a little bit later, he's like, y'all don't even know what's going on. The reason I did that was basically so that I can keep whatever it is here so that it doesn't go out into the world, so that it basically just freezes and dies. And I think that's a really interesting character to have in a movie like this.
Yeah. I think Blair is ridiculously sad. But one of my favorite horror movie characters, because I feel like a lot of horror movie characters can be kind of just one note, like a lot of the characters in this movie. But what's interesting about Blair is they actually gave him an interesting dilemma. Since he's the first guy who figures out what the thing is, here he's given this choice of kill everybody in this facility and save the human race, or, just let this pass, hope it's nothing, because he's going off of 75% of what the computer's telling him, and then he starts to freak out. Then he starts to lose his mind. And I just think that's interesting that he went with the option of sacrifice everybody for the greater good. But what's so heartbreaking about Blair is that because he went with that option, which I think on paper is the right decision.
Yeah.
They banish him, and then the thing gets him, and then at the very end of the movie, he becomes the very thing he swore to destroy, because Blair's the last bit of the thing that they have left to destroy. And I just think it's so sad that Blair gets punished for being right. It sucks.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's a neat little layer to this movie, I think.
I think that the acting choices in this movie, or the actors that were chosen in this movie, credits the movie a lot, because you're not focused on their acting, which I really like about that. I think it focuses more on what's happening on screen and what's happening with the thing, instead of being like, wow, that character's really delivering that line really well.
Yeah.
I like that, especially with Clark is his name, the guy who loves the dogs.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. In the very beginning of the movie, when he's talking to Blair, he's just like, he's this backwoodsman who's just staring into Blair. And the way he's delivering his lines is like this is his first movie.
Yeah.
But it works really, really well, because you're focused more on the scary thing that's in the compound rather than these characters who are acting.
Yeah.
And I think the movie deserves a lot more credit for that.
Oh, and I agree. This movie has like the most natural acting of all time in it, because it genuinely feels like what 12 guys would be doing if put into this situation. I'd kill you if would
you wear that hat too?
I would wear that hat. I'd wear his jacket. McCready's jacket in this movie is rad.
I'd wear his goggles.
Let's just be Kurt Russell for Halloween.
Dude, amen, brother. Get that 15-gallon hat.
I think we would be remiss as we start to maybe wind down this conversation to not really talk about the cultural footprint that this movie has put just into pop culture in general. I definitely want to talk about the ending as kind of the final note, because there's a lot to unpack with the ending of this movie. But I feel like this movie kind of gets put on the back burner a little bit, because you look at movies like Alien or It or Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, and they've done a lot more obvious things to the cultural zeitgeist of pop culture. But The Thing has created things that those other movies did not. And what I mean by that, with that awful sentence was gearing up to say, it revolutionized practical effects. It revolutionized tight, compact storytelling. Like, this whole movie is just like one place. It revolutionized horror and sci-fi because it blended the two in a way that hadn't been super successfully done probably since Alien, since the 70s. Because Aliens came out after this movie.
Ooh.
To my knowledge. If we're wrong, call me out on that. But also, even now, because Ben, let me ask you something. Have you ever heard of a little game called Among Us?
Once or twice. Yeah.
That's this movie.
They're just going about doing their tasks,
while
living their life.
One monster that looks exactly like them is picking them off.
Dang. That's a hot take right there,
like, this movie is undeniably important. And it makes me sad because I think this movie gets not talked about a lot.
It gets overlooked. Or it doesn't get enough credit for what this movie actually did. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, Keagan, let's dig into it, all right? You give our audience no, I can't say that. I'm saying that too much. Give our audience a little tidbit of what happens at the end of this movie, and then throw out your theory.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen. So basically, the way this movie wraps up is it's down to McCready, Childs, Windows, and I think Gary.
Gary.
He's going to be called Gary from here on out, if that's not his name. It's down to them, and they have decided they're going to blow up the facility in an attempt to burn this thing and raise this thing's temperature enough so it can't get back down into the ice to freeze, so that if a rescue team comes, they won't unearth this thing again. They blow it up, and as they're blowing it up, Blair, the last part of the thing, takes out Gary. He freaking like stretches his face out. That's a terrifying effect. He takes Blair, he takes Windows, and it's all down to McCready as the thing is a mix of all three of them and a dog freaking shooting out of his chest.
It's terrifying.
It's horrifying. And McCready, says his catchy line, lights the last Molotov, and throws it, blows up, which, by the way, again, that explosion was practical. That last explosion looks incredible. Just a big plume of fire just contrasted against the night snowy sky. It's so cool.
I love it.
And so all that goes down, and then kind of, cut to a little bit of establishing shots We don't see McCready for a second. Next shot picks up. McCready is trudging through the snow, looking mighty pale. He sits down and is about to take a drink of something. And then Childs comes out of nowhere, played by Keith David. And McCready's like, where were you? Childs was like, I thought I saw Blair. Saw you blew up the facility. McCready was like, yeah. Where have you been this whole time? And he's like, I got lost in the storm. And they sit down across from each other. And Childs is like, if you're looking at me like I'm one of those things, you don't need to worry about it. And McCready's like, even if you were, there's nothing we could do about it now. He's like, hands him the drink. And one of my favorite lines in a movie, literally ever, is Childs looks at him and is like, so what do we do now? And they are just kind of staring at each other, nodding. And McCready's like, let's just wait here for a while and see what happens. And then cut to black. And that's how the movie ends. Freaking goosebumps. It's so good. So obviously the way the scene is structured is that you don't know if Childs is a thing, and then there's a little bit of implication that McCready might be a thing, but there's also a possibility that neither of them are, and they're safe. What do you think?
It comes down to the bottle. And there is a theory out there. What's the theory again? I'm forgetting it.
So the prevailing theory is that the bottle that McCready is about to take a drink of is the last bottle that he has filled with kerosene.
Yeah.
To make the Molotovs. McCready was going to kill himself. Childs comes out of nowhere, and so McCready hands him the bottle.
He takes a drink.
And doesn't react.
Yes.
Doesn't react to drinking pure gasoline. So the implication is that Childs is the thing.
Yeah.
And they both die basically having this standoff to each other. But the holes in that theory is, and I love that is my favorite version of the ending.
Yeah, I agree.
But you don't necessarily, the movie never shows that McCready filled the bottles with gasoline, because it's the same kind of bottles that like are used for whiskey earlier in the movie, to my knowledge, and you can make Molotovs with whiskey. So there could have just been whiskey in the bottle.
Yeah. Which
doesn't necessarily mean that Childs isn't a thing, but it doesn't necessarily prove that he is.
Yeah.
But you know, there could also be the theory of, you know, McCready doesn't do anything or attack Childs because he's a thing and just wants to refreeze. And, you know, you don't know. You don't know. I don't think McCready is a thing.
I don't think so either.
And then again, there's also that theory of just they're both who they say they are. And they just kind of, they completed their task and they saved the world and they both die in the snow.
Either way, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
Like, any one of those endings is a great ending.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's what's interesting, is not one of them is like, oh, that one wouldn't be that great.
Yeah.
All of those endings are freaking heartbreaking.
Yeah, honestly, it's very bittersweet. It's a very cool movie. Like it's a horror sci-fi, but there's an odd kind of manly style to it. But it's a bittersweet ending for a kind of pretty macho movie.
Well, and I'm glad that they had the stones to cut it like that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And it says exactly what it needs to say. Like, there's not another word spoken because there doesn't need to be another word spoken in that movie.
It's ended how it should be ended, because throughout this entire movie, you are figuring everything out as the characters in the movie are figuring everything out. And so at the end, when the characters haven't figured anything out yet, and then it cuts, you're supposed to feel the same way, wondering who's who. And that's so well done. That's something we don't see a lot in cinematography these days.
No.
Or writing, I should say.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And whenever there's a movie that's like, oh, the ending is open-ended, I think it's lazy because you can have two kinds of open-ended writing. One where they didn't want to make an ending, and so they leave it up to the audience to fill in the gaps because it's artsy. And then there's the kind of open-ended movie that The Thing is, where it leaves it up to the audience, but it kind of gives you a multiple choice question. And whatever ending you want it to be, that's what the ending is. Like, they made a sequel to this movie, but I think it was so smart for it to be a prequel. Yeah. Because I truly cannot think of another movie that shouldn't have a sequel to the extent that The Thing shouldn't have a sequel.
I agree. Right down to Bolt. You know that movie?
What, Bolt?
Yeah.
You don't want a sequel to Bolt?
No. The movie's great as it is.
That is a great movie. That's one of the sleeper hits of Disney.
It really is. But, needless to say, this movie is absolutely wonderful. The reason that we do this is to get you all to watch these movies, honestly. Please. Besides our passion for movies.
Passion.
But also, you all should, y'all should congratulate us because, Keegan, do you know what our last episode was?
What was it?
It was our 50th episode.
Holy crap. We've been doing this. Dude, we've been doing this for a year.
A whole entire year as well.
Wow. We've come a lot.
That definitely can't be in there.
We have come a long way from where we started. Yeah,
that's insane.
That's wonderful.
And we're gonna keep going specifically for you, Jackson.
Jackson, yeah,
we're coming back to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for blessing us with your time. I really hope we blessed your ears. Follow us on all the goodies. I had the bright idea to put our information in the show notes. So,
that's a lot easier than us trying to figure out how to say all this.
Yeah. So follow us on the socials. We're there. Shoot us an email. We would love to hear from you. Answer any questions, thoughts, concerns.
You know what? This week, as we usher into fall and the leaves start turning, it gets a little bit nipply out there and you get to wear your jacket. Get your pumpkin spice lattes out.
Get your pumpkin spice.
Maybe drink a little bit of apple cider. I know I am going to this evening. And gather around a fire for the most wonderful time of the year. Get out of here, Christmas. No, I love you. Stay here. But fall is better.
Pour a pumpkin spice out for the boys.
Amen.
Good evening.
Good night.